This is Jared Horek for today's RacingDigest.com, and my look at the Breeders' Cup races continue. A couple weeks back, I looked at the Breeders' Cup Classic for today's Racing Digest. Last week, we looked at the Breeders' Cup Distaff. This week, we're going to look at the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and Juvenile Fillies. They'll both be run on Friday, November 1st, 2019. The seventh race we're going to look at first, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Mile and a 16th on the main track. We've had 10 pre-entries in this race. Now, the Juvenile Fillies has previously been run at Santa Anita Park 9 times. Horses that were based in Southern California won 6 of those 9 races. And those horses were Phone Chatter, Half Bridled, Stardom Bound, Beholder, Songbird, and Champagne Room. And that's not that surprising that the horses that are based in California would win the Breeders' Cup of California. It's probably that's the way it would be on any of the Breeders' Cup tracks. Not that they're not going to be a lock, obviously. But when 2-year-olds are traveling, they're not used to all the travel, and they're just starting their careers. And the horses that are based at home, they would just have the edge. Whereas like the older horses, they're used to all the travel. They travel all around. They're just used to that. And so that looks like, you know, the edge goes to the California horses, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's 100% guaranteed that they're going to win the Breeders' Cup. But let's look in alphabetical order at the 10 pre-entries, beginning with Bast for trainer Bob Baffert. And this one has a very good chance as one of the locally based horses to win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies this year. She's won back-to-back Grade 1 races. She was second in her career debut, and then in the 7 furlong Grade 1 Del Mar debutante, she rallied to win that race and break her maiden in that race. Then she stretched out to 2 turns in the Grade 1 Chandelier at Santa Anita Park last time. And it was just an odd race. Leucothea was supposed to be the speed, but she lost her rider, and then Comical ended up going out there and trying to steal it, and the pace was very slow, and Bast was up on the pace. She's much more comfortable stalking, so she had to battle on the pace throughout, and she was just able to outfinish Comical and win that race. It was a slow early, a fast late type race. This race, I think it's going to play more like the Del Mar debutante did, where the pace was honest, and Bast was able to stalk that pace and finish nicely. So I think that's what they're going to want to try to do in here. So I think even though her speed figure was a bit lower last time, she really didn't have a chance to run fast because the race was slow early. So with that slow pace, it just didn't develop into a race that would particularly get a fast speed figure. But she's certainly a contender to win this race. If looking at the way that it could shape up, the pace should be honest in here, and Bast should have a good chance. The British Idiom for trainer Brad Cox, certainly a big contender to win, shipping in from Keeneland. Now, she won back-to-back races to start her career. She stretched out in her second career start in the Alcibiades, didn't have any trouble with the extra distance. She won that one easily. She's got excellent tactical speed, so look for British Idiom to be stalking the pace, and she's a big win threat. Now, Comical last time, she almost stole the Chandelier. The pace is going to be much quicker this time. I just think she's going to have to run faster throughout, and I think that's going to affect her final time. Typically, when a horse is able to control the pace, they can run better, but when the pace figures go up against better company, usually the final figure will come down. Donna Veloce for trainer Simon Callahan. This one romped in the debut. They paid a lot for this filly, and she showed that she was the real deal in her debut. She earned a strong speed figure at Santa Anita, winning that sprint. This is going to be tough from a class distance standpoint. She's going to have to stretch out in her second career start. But British Idiom did exactly that in the Grade 1 Alcibiades. The only difference is now some of her contenders in this race, her main competition, like Bast, British Idiom, Perfect Alibi, they all have 2-turn experience, and they're in good form. So it's going to be a tough task, but if she's very talented, would not be surprised if she won this race. Etoile is going to be an overseas runner, a turf sprinter, won a Grade 3 in her May 19th debut in Ireland, showed that she had ability right off the bat, but this is going to be a tough spot. 2 turns on dirt against some solid fillies. KP Dreamin', she is an improving daughter of Union Rags. She was 3rd in the Chandelier. That race did not set up for her. I think that this race could set up a lot better, and I would not be shocked if maybe she could finish 3rd or 4th in the Juvenile Fillies. Lazy Daisy is another one that's going to be up on the pace. This one stretched out. She was prominent throughout. She won the Grade 2 Pocahontas at Churchill Downs last time out. and she's going to be up there on the pace, but that could do her in because there are a few others in here that are going to show speed. Donna Veloce's one. Obviously, Lazy Daisy that we're talking about is going to be one. Wicked Whisper, we'll get to that one. We'll show some speed. Probably 260, another one that we'll talk about in a minute. Perfect Alibi is the next one. She was no match for British Idiom. She was second best in the Alcibiades. Good efforts in sprint races. She won a couple of sprint stakes races earlier this year. Maybe she's going to be better sprinting. We still don't know yet. We're going to find out. She's going to be grinding away in the stretch. She could hit the board. If the pace really falls apart, maybe she can pick up the pieces, but she's got to show more around 2 turns because British Idiom was just so much better. There's no reason to think that that one wouldn't run at least as well here. 260, I mentioned that one as a possible speed threat. Romped in a Florida-bred stakes race last time out over a route of ground on September 28th. And she'll be up on the pace, but again, this is going to be a big test, pace, class, everything else. A Wicked Whisper, she controlled the pace in both of her starts. She won the Frisette last time. She controlled the pace in her sprint debut. She hasn't been around 2 turns yet. This is her first 2-turn test. And then with 260, Lazy Daisy, Comical, Donna Veloce, all those horses have some speed, and Wicked Whisper is going to have to run hard throughout. Around 2 turns, and she really hasn't been pressed yet, so that's going to be the key. If she can get out there and control the pace again, obviously would be a threat, but just no guarantee that that's going to happen with these other horses. We'll have to see how the post positions play out, but Wicked Whisper could get overbet because 2 perfect trips, no guarantee that she's going to get that, facing pace pressure throughout, first start around 2 turns. We'll see how she ends up doing, but she obviously has a lot of talent based on those first 2 starts. And then the 9th race at Santa Anita, the Brave one, the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Juvenile, 1 mile and a 16th on the main track. And we have 12 pre-entries in this race. Now, just like the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, we've had 9 runnings at Santa Anita Park for the Juvenile, and 6 of the 9 runnings have been captured by horses based in Southern California. Capote, Bracco, Action This Day, Midshipman, New Year's Day, Texas Red, all of those horses were based in Southern California, and they all won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. So we'll have to see if that stat holds up. I would just based on the strength of the juvenile divisions that we just mentioned, probably a Southern California horse would at least win one of these 2 races. American Theorem is the first in alphabetical order we'll talk about, and this one has speed, and if you go up and down this field, there's really not a lot of speed in the juvenile this year. This one was second in the American Pharoah Stakes last time, stretching out in distance, chased the pace, a solid effort. Still, we don't know if this one's going to be better sprinting or routing yet. Was good in the sprint debut, ran okay in the solid second time out. Second route race could improve. The lack of pace could help the chances as well. Anu D'Or, this one won a turf route at Golden Gate Fields in the career debut, and it was an easy win. But this is going to be just a much tougher test in here. Also pre-entered in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Maybe that'll be a better option since this one started on turf. They paid a lot for him. He's obviously has some talent, but probably not this kind of talent at this point in only his 2nd career start. Billy Bats is the next one. This one's a turf router. He's already run 6 times. He would be a big surprise. I think he can probably chase the pace, but he's been showing at least some speed on turf. But showing speed on turf and then showing speed on dirt against this kind of horse is completely different stories. Dennis's Moment. This one is a talented shipper for trainer Dale Romans, obviously capable of winning this race. Back-to-back wins, so he's in excellent form right now. And I like his tactical speed. He was able to get out there and be up on the pace in his maiden win, and then around 2 turns he showed nice tactical speed in the Iroquois, picking up 10 Kentucky Derby points in the first Derby points race at Churchill Downs. So this one, a lot of talent, excellent pedigree, good connections. Would not be a surprise at all if he won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Now 8 Rings is probably the one to catch and beat for trainer Bob Baffert. He won last time out the American Pharoah Stakes. He controlled the pace and he just ran away with that one. And he didn't just set a slow pace. He set some legitimate fractions. He was just quicker than his opponents. He was sent out there and he just went all the way. And he looked excellent in his career debut. And then he ducked in, he threw the rider in the Del Mar Futurity, and then he came right back in the American Pharoah Stakes and dominated. His best chance in here is just to get out there and go to the front. And if you look at the field, as I said, there's not a ton of speed. So I would expect 8 Rings to be sent to the lead just like he was in the American Pharoah, and he will try to run them off their feet. Full Flat is the next one. This one is a Japan shipper. He's bred for dirt, but I think this is a very tough race for him. Switching surfaces, facing some pretty good horses in Dennis's Moment and 8 Rings. He's probably up against it. King Neptune, he's already run 9 times overseas. He won his debut in a synthetic sprint. Since then, he's been running in mostly turf sprints. Now he's got to stretch out, switch surfaces. He's lost 8 starts in a row. He would be a huge surprise. Maxfield is one that capable of winning this race. He broke slow in both starts, and he was able to show a big kick and win both of those races, including the Breeders' Cup Futurity last time, the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland last time out. That was a grade 1 at a mile and a 16th. I don't know that he can't make a mistake here. I don't think that he can just break slow, spot multiple lengths to Dennis's Moment and 8 Rings and expect to beat those horses, because they're both going to be, even if he doesn't break slow, he's going to be rallying, and he's going to be behind them regardless. 8 Rings will probably be in front. Dennis's Moment will probably be stalking the pace. Maxfield's going to have to rally past the other horses, plus those 2 horses. He's got a lot of potential heading on to the Triple Crown Trail, but maybe over this track, which has been favoring speed throughout the meet, maybe he'll be up against it for the win. But again, he is a win contender if the pace heats up, and he certainly has a lot of talent. Scabbard is the next one, and he was the Iroquois runner-up. He's going to have to make up some ground on Dennis's Moment. I think he can hit the board. I'm not sure that he can really win this race. He's going to be rallying as well, and that rallying style will probably play against him in this spot. Shoplifted. This one was no threat in the American Pharoah Stakes. He just didn't run a good enough race to be considered a legitimate win contender for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Storm the Court. Similar situation. He was a non-threatening 3rd in the American Pharoah Stakes. He's going to need to show more. That was his first start around 2 turns. He does have a race over the track, but he's going to have to really improve. Finally, Wrecking Crew. This one was 2nd in the Best Pal Stakes. That was a grade 2. And then he was also 2nd in the Del Mar Futurity. But the Del Mar Futurity was a fast early, very slow late race. He's going to have to really improve. I didn't think that race was that strong, especially after 8 Rings and Storm the Court both tossed the riders out of that race. And then the other horses that actually completed that race and then have run since haven't done particularly well. So I think Wrecking Crew could be up against it in this spot. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and make some comments in the comment section. Who do you like in the 2019 Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies and the Breeders' Cup Juvenile? You can read my Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks blogs at todaysracingdigest.com. If you're interested in the Fast Figs and the complete digest for Breeders' Cup, you'll be able to get those at todaysracingdigest.com. Breeders' Cup Week, Fast Figs, you can get $3 a card. $39 for 30 days, unlimited downloads. A lot of good offers for the Fast Figs. So jump over there to todaysracingdigest.com if you're interested in the Fast Figs. I have some description in the description section. I talk about the Fast Figs, links to articles about them. The Fast Figs, a very profitable number for todaysracingdigest.com. It's a combination of speed and class rating all rolled into one. Just jump over to Today's Racing Digest. I've been using the Fast Figs in these videos and in my handicapping. Very good, accurate number for todaysracingdigest.com. And that will wrap up this week's video. I'll be back next week with another Breeders' Cup race for todaysracingdigest.com.